Welcome to my mini-series covering Xavi's new tactics for the 23-24 season. You can use these tactics on both FIFA and FC24. In this first tutorial, we'll be covering the base formation structure, individual instructions, and the overall team strategy. Our goal here is to replicate Xavi's current Tiki-Taka style. These are the tactics I will be personally using for my FC24 career mode, so don't forget to like and subscribe for the additional tutorials that will complement this one. If you're using this formation for your career mode, I suggest you first start your career mode and choose the playstyle Tiki-Taka, then use the formation from this tutorial. Because once you choose and move forward, the game overrides some of the formation details. So it's best to do it afterwards. Alright, so this would probably be the preferred starting lineup for Barcelona as envisioned by Xavi if all of his players were fit, and these over here are the primary substitutes. If you haven't already created my custom player Lamine Yamal, who is now integral to the Xavi tactics, please find the link in the video description. For now, let's focus on the base in relation to Xavi's objectives, because this tutorial doesn't focus so much on the player but the system. So don't worry about some of those players like Gundogan that could be starters. For example, in Barca's game against Real Madrid, when Lamine Yamal came in, Xavi didn't place him as a right-wing forward because he wanted to keep Rafinha in that position. So instead, he had him play the interior forward. You will see this adjustment in the tutorial. It's played by Joao Felix. Alright, to begin, what you want to do is select the 4-3-3 holding formation, and what we're going to do is make some custom modifications to this. So we return to the squad, and the first thing you want to do here is move Joao Felix 37 spaces to the right because he plays more of a role of an interior forward. Well, you want to switch him to a center forward. Alright, the next thing you want to do is move Frenkie de Jong into a second pivot position. So we're going to move him down 14 spots. And he's going to be assigned the left center midfielder. Alright, so what you want to do is also move Koundé 9 spots to the right. And his role is a left center back. That way, we have this triangle right here. And now that we've created the space, let's drop Felix down 5 spots. And for Balde, you want to keep him wide, so you don't want to change the width. You want to move him up about 5 spots. And he's going to be playing a left wing back. You want to maintain this triangle right here. And he will be moving forward, creating a triangle with Felix and De Jong. So on the other side with Cancelo, you want to move him up 18 spaces and set him up as a right wing back. So you want Balde wide because he overlaps, but you want Cancelo inwards because he likes to join the midfield and cut inside. So what you want to do is move him 20 spaces inward. This position allows him to triangulate with Lamine Yamal and Pedri, as well with Pedri, Araujo, and Romeu. Next, you want to move Pedri 4 spaces up because he plays a more offensive role, but you don't want to set him up as an attacking midfielder. For other players like Fermin Lopez, yes, this would be the case, but not for Pedri, so you want to set him up as a right center midfielder. And finally, you want to move Lamine Yamal 5 spaces to the right because you want him as wide as possible. With him, it's all about one-on-one play if he is to cut inside. Okay, moving on to individual instructions. Joao Felix. Here you want the support runs set on default. He both drifts wide and links in the center. Attack runs are also on default because he's very versatile and he even does a false 9. So you want this all on mixed. Interceptions are set to default, and his defensive support you want it as comeback on defense, especially to help out with the overlapping Balde. Talking about the overlapping Balde, you want him to join the attack, interceptions are on default, and you want him to make an overlapping run, so set that to overlap. I don't set it up as mixed because most of his runs that he cuts inside are more 1v1 long distance runs that you could do those manually. And the defensive, you want it set up as stick to position default. For Lewandowski, run supports, I have it on balanced or default because Joao might cut inside. Lewandowski can then cover the wing, but you also want to have the benefits of Lewandowski going central, so you want him to do both. On attacking runs, I have set this to a target player because that is his main style. Interceptions are set to default, and the defensive support is comeback on defense. Now on the other side, we have Lamine Yamal. On the defensive support, you want him to come back on defense. I know he's not amazing at it, but he does do it. You want him to stay wide, and you want him to come short because he's all about the 1v1s. That's his bread and butter. You want to set up his support on crosses as balanced because he both makes crosses. And remember, his first goal came from him getting into the box. And finally, interceptions are set to default. For Cancelo, you want him to join the attack. Interceptions are on default. His run type, you want to invert it, especially if you're using the Yamal who stays wide. Plus, you want Cancelo to move into the midfield, just like he does in real life. You do that by inverting him. And for defensive position, you want him to stick to position. Moving on to the midfield. First, we have our pivot play by Romeu. You want him to cut the passing lanes, stay back while attacking because he is the fixed pivot. Interceptions are on default. You want him to cover the center, and you want to set him up as a deep line playmaker, especially if you use Frankie de Jong as the pivot instead of Romeu. On the other hand, De Jong is not a fixed pivot and moves more freely, so you want the attacking support to be balanced so he can do both. He'll be pushing forward and adding the assistance to Romeu. He's not really a goal poacher, so you want him to stay on the edge in case attacks break down, and he's well positioned for a counterattack. Interceptions are set to default. He does have more freedom these past 2 seasons because he's been playing his more natural position, so I gave him free roam. Plus, this gives him the chance to kind of cover Balde's position when Balde's overlapping on offense, but on defense, you want him to cover the center. So Pedri, you want him to get forward for him to overload the attack. You also want him to go for goal, so it helps to have him get into the box for cross. Interceptions are also set to default. Xavi also gives him a lot of freedom, so I've also set him as free roam. And remember, you have Cancelo inverting on offense, so that would mean Pedri would either link up with him or move into position a little bit wider on offense. But you also want him to cover the center when it comes to defensive position. For both Koundé and Araujo, they're set up the same way. Everything is set to default. And finally, for Ter Stegen, you want to set him up as comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. That is his style. Let's go over tactics real quick. And don't forget to drop a like if you are enjoying this video. I do feel like Barca have lowered the bar when it comes to the press. So instead of press after possession loss, I think it would be more adequate to use pressure on heavy touch. It would be more realistic. You can always alternate the game plan. You do that by clicking L2 on the PS5. We'll do this in volume 2. And there, I'll set up the press after possession loss under the defensive tactic. I've set the team width to 60. They are pretty compact when it comes to defense, but they do play a high line, so I would set this up to 65, 75. It's up to you. If you feel the game is too end-to-end, I honestly would set this up at 50, but for now, I'm personally going to set it up to 65. On the offense, obviously, we're going to use the slow build-up. For the chance creation, we set that up as possession. And you want to increase the width when compared to the defense. I've pushed it to 65, but you can push this to 70. I personally prefer to create the width via the individual instructions, sliders, and manual placement, as you saw earlier. Players in the box. Barca's offensive style and high line does make them vulnerable to counterattacks, so I like to just target those that would actually score from a cross, like Lewandowski and Joao Felix, especially on a header. So you want to set this part up to 3 to 5. You want to set up the third option in case someone like Cancelo cuts inside, like the game winner he got a few weeks ago. I applied the same for corners and free kicks. Both of them are set to 3. That's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section. I do recommend you use my custom sliders in combination with these tactics. I will place those on the lower right. And once I have the substitution tutorial, I'll have that ready on the lower left. In the meantime, you can check my other content, and future additional tactics will be placed above. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you guys have a great day and take care.